more than anything else, what we practice, what we're playing with in the form of mindfulness and bringing the mind and the body into a place of oneness, more than anything else, we're seeking that selfless self. What's important is to truly discover yourself beyond the self, to discover that formless form. When you look at the water, your eyes perceive that the water has a shape, that it has a form, that it has a shape. But with your heart, you know that the shape is contingent upon the form that it's flowing in. Wherever you were to put that water, it would take on that shape. It would flow within that shape, within that form. So it is with everyone born of spirit. Being present is the effortless home of presence, of the incarnation. And true presence is discovered in solitude. When I say solitude, I'm not saying when you're alone. I'm talking about when you discover being, that unmoved state, unmovable, unshakable. This is true solitude, and true solitude is the birthplace of presence in the incarnation. And so it's as if you are walking with the form in the cool of the day. You are the presence that is walking and eating with the form in the cool of the day. Like that water, formless, selfless, but filling and flowing in form and within self. Like the wind, flows through the trees and you can see that the wind is there, but you don't see it, it's formless, selfless. You can feel the breeze and the ecstasy that is the result of the breeze upon your skin, and yet you can't see it. So Jesus breathed on his disciples and said, "Be filled with the Spirit," or realize your spirit. The breath, the wind, the ruach. We are that formlessness, that selfless self. Selflessness, filling the self. Formlessness, filling a form. But you're not just the formless nature that's filling this form. your formlessness that fills all form. The whole universe is found in this form. This form is found in the universe. You, the formless one, fill this form, and you fill the whole universe. This one's not moved by trivial things. It's not looking to find success or wealth or it's not even looking to bring peace. It simply is the peace. You are the peace. I am the peace that already fills everything everywhere. And when that sort of wealth is obtained or realized, what else is there? What else is there for the incarnation that realizes true wealth? The only thing that there is would be to play, to create, in the realization of that wealth, in the realization of that formless form, selfless self. So we're here to discover that. You're here to discover that. You always have been. You're here to wake up to the presence within this body. You're here to bring that body and mind into a place of present. But that's just positioning the body and the mind to realize it is the incarnation. It is the divine in bodily form, or as the body of the divine. Incarnation is the selfless self. Not self in the sense of a story. Self in the sense of divine expression. The divine story is found in everything and everyone. Look at the flowers that are by the water. The divine story is in them. They're impermanent, as are all things that have the divine story. But the divine story is in them. It's not less in them than it is in you, or than it is in your form. As a matter of fact, we might say that those flowers over there are more in tune with the selfless self than is humanity. Because we've taken on a self that has its own story. What tradition or religion is there that contains the divine? That is able to say, this is the only truth, or this is what you have to believe to be saved. You recognize the divine is in all things. And you're able to glean and learn, and able to learn from this grass at my feet in the same way that you could learn from the Buddha. Learn from the breeze that's felt upon your skin in the same way that you could learn from the living Jesus. You could learn from the fly that lands on your face in the same way that you learn from me. you're not learning to take on more concepts. We're learning to let go of concepts. Hold them loosely. Enjoy them when they come. Practice them. Always realize that they're pointing to something greater than themselves. Just like every practice that I've been giving you this week, the things that I've been having you practice, they're pointing to something beyond themselves. Enlightenment isn't found in the practice. The true self isn't found in the practice. The formless form isn't found in the practice of sitting meditation. Incarnation isn't found in the form of walking meditation. Walking meditation is pointing to something else entirely, something greater than it. They're just pointings. And these are pointings that will be with you forever. As long as you're informed, they'll be with you. You can return to that simple practice, and you're pointed to something deeper. And it's brand new every moment, every day. Sitting meditation, if it is not brand new every time you sit, then you're not doing it right. Sitting meditation is pointing to something deeper and more grand every time you sit. In walking meditation, every step points to something, a heightened experience, points to a greater realization. Every single one. When you wake up and you smile to the world, it's a brand new day. I'm born again. That smile is smiling, it's pointing you to something greater. It's bigger than just the form. It's pointing you to the formlessness that you are, so that you can play in that form, enjoy that form, abide as peace in that form. Abide as joy in that form. How deep you go with your practice is more up to you than it is up to me. How I point you in your practice might be up to me, but how deep you go in your practice is up to you. Do you have any questions?
I mean, I feel like anything I ask at this point is going to sound like an imbecile talking to a king. Like, I don't know how to follow that up.
Then be an imbecile. It's only the self that is concerned with the form or an appearance. So sometimes the wisest person you know is the most foolish.
Well, last night, after the Satsang, I decided to do 108 of these. And I had a moment that was easily the most present moment that I've had on this silent retreat, but I would say probably the most present in the past definitely a few months, which is cool. But I'm seeing that, like, when I have an experience like that, it does two things to me. One, it feels really good. So I guess it does three things. It feels really good, but it's not sustainable, or it doesn't seem sustainable to me. So then when I come back to it, creates a little bit of frustration, because now I'm like, well, I know that can be an experience now, but I'm not experiencing that. And it also reveals that I'm not, like, I might be more present than everyone at work, but I'm not present at all, like, most of the time either, you know? So that's like the three takeaways I get from it.
What is the feeling that I'm not present at all, that I might be the most present person at work, but I'm not present at all? What is that feeling pointing you towards? So, before you answer the question,
Okay.
take each one of those feelings. So before we go to that one, let's start with it feels really good.
Okay.
What is that feeling pointing you to? It's pointing to something. If you get focused on the finger, remember, you don't look at the finger, you look at what the finger's pointing towards. So if I say to the dog, fetch me the moon, that's Zen parable.
Uh-huh.
The dog looks at the finger.
Yeah.
What is the feeling that just says, this feels so good? What is it pointing you towards?
Last night it was like a blending of all things, kind of.
Okay. Don't complicate it though. Let's stay simple. Let's remain as a fool for a second. Don't complicate it.
Okay.
If you go and you have the best ice cream of your life, I know you don't eat dairy, except for sometimes.
Yeah. Except for when I do.
Except for when you do. Same here. But when you go have the best ice cream of your life, and every bite is a magnificent sensation exploding in your mouth. Okay. What is that bite of ice cream pointing you to?
That ice cream maker is really good.
Okay, the ice cream maker's good. What else? If you finish that ice cream, the next day you're on the same street that the ice cream company's on. What do you want to do? What did that ice cream do? Pointed it right back to itself, didn't it?
Yeah.
And so it's creating this desire for you to go right back to itself. Right back. Come back to me, come back to me, come back to me, come back to me. The more the pleasure comes, the more it's helping the mind, the ecstasy that you experience in embodied, the present that you experience embodied, the union, the oneness, is always pointing back to self. And the deeper you go into that self, It's better than the ice cream, because the ice cream will only get deeper as your perceptions shift and change. In some way that your body's perceptions are shifting and changing, and you will experience on a deeper physical level presence, ecstasy, peace. So it's pointing back to itself. Okay.
Okay.
What was the second thing?
The second two were...
I know what the last one was. What was the second one?
What was the last one, so I can remember which one is in between? The frustration.
The last one was, if I might be the most present person at work, but I'm not even present.
Yeah. Okay, so the second one is a frustration, because then so you have the heightened experience, and now it's back to normal. It's not sustained, so there's a frustration when it's like, oh, well, now I've literally experienced this 5 minutes ago.
So, use the ice cream analogy again. You have the ice cream. You're done with the ice cream. You are full of ice cream. 30 minutes after you have that ice cream, what are you still talking about?
The ice cream.
You're returning to the ice cream, right? You're with your friends, and you're like, that ice cream, the tacos, the vegan tacos.
Oh, yeah.
We'll use those as an example. You and I had those vegan tacos. We've been talking about those vegan tacos for months.
Uh-huh.
Now, they're not every second, but they get brought up often. And when I talked to you about those vegan tacos, you saw the expression light up on my face, right? I saw your face light up when I said the tacos. You went, we're enjoying the ecstasy, the sensation, the taste explosion. Months later, we're still enjoying it without ever having to take a bite of the taco.
Uh-huh.
When you walk away from an experience, you carry that experience within you. You haven't lost it. The only way you lose that experience is if you lose it in your mind. And it's an invitation to continue, or to go deeper, to pursue. Frustration only comes when you think of it as a one-time event. Now, if you were to leave that taco place and to think to yourself, they never will have those tacos again, I will never eat them again, you would still be like, it was good, but you would be a little disappointed.
Uh-huh.
All of that, the tacos are impermanent, the body is impermanent, the form's impermanent, it takes different shapes. But understand this, that the feelings and the experiences of the body are there because you have a body. It's beautiful. So be thankful for those experiences. Carry those experiences. And when you carry those experiences, in the same way with the taco, the next time you have those vegan tacos, you won't be having the same tacos that you had last time. They might have the same name. They might taste similar. But will they be the exact same ones? No.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the same exact tacos that I had?
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're speaking about them as if we did. No experience is the same. Carry that experience, enjoy it. When your mind goes back to that place, be present in that experience again. And you feel the ecstasy coming over you. You're like when you think of those tacos, your mouth starts to salivate. In the same way, when you think of that experience, you might feel the presence of the moment. Frustration comes when you think of it as a permanent, when you think in terms of permanence. Joy comes when you understand impermanence, the impermanent nature of that experience. That experience was an invitation into the next one. So instead of being frustrated, enjoy it. And whether or not you enjoy it or are frustrated is merely about your understanding. It has everything to do with understanding, insight, and understanding.
I thought it was supposed to be a permanent experience, though.
What's that?
Like being present.
Oh yeah, being present is, but the experience never is. You are waking up to the present. Remember, the present is that which moves in the present. It's the present is operating in the space of presence. So you are presence. Bringing the mind and body, you are the space that's bringing the mind and body into itself, or into the awareness of present awareness. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The experiences you have in the present are just that, they're experiences, they're impermanent. They come and they go. But the present, because the present is always shifting, changing. I can have a butterfly. You had a butterfly land on your foot.
Mm-hmm.
I had an ant crawling on my hand. Butterfly the other day was flying, and I just stuck my finger out and it came and landed on my finger. But this is an experience. It's a beautiful experience. Experience was in that moment. I am in the moment, having the experience. My mind and body are in the same place. Presence is giving space for this moment to happen. Then the butterfly flew away, and I stood from the place that I was, and I kept walking. The experience of the butterfly didn't continue. Something new was happening. I was in a new moment. I was in the expanse of that moment. Experientially, perceptionally, when you look at a flower, and it's closed up in the early morning, and if you were to watch that flower as the sun comes, you watch that flower begin to bloom. And we would think of that experience as watching the flower bloom. But the truth is, your moment has been expanding just like the flower. You perceptionally saw the flower like this, closed. Now, if you didn't stay and allow that moment to unfold, and you just saw the flower in its closed position and walked away, your perception would be that flower was closed to the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you left and you came back a few hours later and the flower was open, you would say, is that the same? That's not even the same flower I was looking at earlier. This one's open. This one's open to the world. Open to the sun. Open to the bees, butterflies. If you were to watch that whole thing unfold, you would call it watching or observing the blooming of a flower. Three very different perceptual experiences of that same event. If you were to stay long enough, you would watch that flower that is here today and gone tomorrow fade away. Eventually, if you were to stay there long enough, the flower would be gone.
Mm-hmm.
If you left in that moment, you would leave upset and disappointed because the flower that you took so much joy in and happiness in died. But if you have understanding and you stay a little longer, you'll see a new flower bloom in its place. The experience is just that. It's meant to be a beautiful experience, something that you can hold in your mind, in your heart, you can return to. When you return to it, just like I mentioned the tacos, beautiful. But you don't ever hang on to the experience. The ecstasy that is found in the experience of being present, isn't the same ecstasy from moment to moment. It's an ever-expanding, changing, shifting ecstasy, depending upon the moment, depending upon how closely or deeply you're touching that moment. Depends upon the experience that you're having, perceptional use that is taking place. All of these things are factors, but the experience itself, you're not looking for the ecstasy to stay. So understand this. Hear me. You have a beautiful moment. You don't stay in the moment. You don't stay in the ecstasy that is experienced in the moment. You stay in the moment. The moment, it's your mind that's making that moment about the ecstasy. Your mind says, yes, this is what it feels like to be present. No. That's what it felt like to be present. And it's unfolding continually. Like that flower blooming. It looks a bit different every time. It smells a bit different. It feels a bit different. Still the same flower. Still the same moment. But it's unfolding. Don't allow ecstasy of the moment to become an attachment, is what I'm saying. Your mind's trying to make it an idea, and it will begin to attach to the feeling. Enjoy it. Let it point you where you want to come back, where you want to experience, where living in this place of home, in the present moment, is what you always want for your mind and body. But not that feeling. That feeling will come and go. It'll be replaced with higher feelings. It might be replaced with lower feelings. It'll be replaced with great sensual feelings, heightened emotions. But that moment, you said, might be the highest, the greatest present moment you've had on silent retreat. Let me ask you this question. Was it the most present moment you've ever had in your life? In your experience in this body, is it the most present moment you've ever had?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Well then, why is that the experience you would want to stay living in? Wouldn't you want to live in the highest experience you've ever had?
Yeah.
And if the highest experience you want to live in, if that becomes a concept that you're just trying to abide in, then you miss out on the higher experience. It's like a man who makes love to a woman. He makes love to a woman. First time he makes love. Both of them are virgins. They make love. And that man feels great. What an ecstatic moment. This was the best sex of my life, he says. It was the only sex of his life. This is so much better than anything else I've ever experienced. Mm-hmm. And so from that point forward, he seeks, this is what you do when you attach. The next time, he does it in the exact same way. He tries to repeat the exact same thing to have the exact same experience. And again, he goes, well, it's pretty good. I don't know that it was as good, but it was pretty good. And after about 6 months of being on repeat, it's not even fun for him anymore. He wasn't supposed to be repeating that experience. He was supposed to be, that experience was supposed to be pointing to something greater. It's supposed to be pointing to an intimacy that's going to continue to expand and unfold. And with that intimacy, as it expands and unfolds, the experience is heightened and continues to expand and unfold. You don't want that experience to stay. You want to let that experience unfold into higher experiences.
Well, what if it feels like it takes... Like, it's not like I have a high experience and then 10 minutes later I have another high experience. It can be like, I guess at this point, like months before I have one that's like, whoa, that's a really high experience. So... I guess what I'm asking is... It seems like I don't want to wait months.
Don't wait at all. Why would you wait to be present? Unlike the man who made love in the same way, you can be present the whole time. You can't make love the whole time. You can't observe the butterfly the whole time. It will fly off.
Uh-huh.
But you can be present the whole time. In the making love, in the observation of the butterfly, in the observation of that flower that's blooming. This is not about the ecstasy. If you make it about the ecstasy, it will fade, and it will be I heard that big fish jump behind me. It'll be like that giant fish that you can never catch. That everyone wants to catch, but seems to elude everybody.
Uh-huh.
No one can catch it. It's not about the ecstasy. It's about being present. Bring your mind and body to a place of the present. The ecstasy was the result of bringing the mind and body to a place of the present. It wasn't the reason you were bringing the mind and body to the place of the present. It was just one of the many benefits, one of the many beautiful things that were taking place, and maybe the thing that you were most aware of. But it's being present that is most important. And so if months are going by that you're not experiencing an ecstasy, as months are going by and you have not been present in any of them, being present is as simple as being aware of your breath. Breathe in, I'm aware of my breath. Breathe out. Smile to my breath. This is all. It's as simple as being aware. You return to the present. And in doing so, some form of peace, of tranquility, of ecstasy, of joy, of happiness, of bliss, some form of that will be present there with you. Your third question was, or your third thing was that you observed or that you noticed, was the idea that here I have been, and this kind of tails off of what we just said. Here I've been, I might be the most present person at work, but I'm not even really that present.
Uh-huh.
Why not? Recognize that having your mind and body be in the same place at the same time is something what we call being present. It's something very few people ever have in their life. And when they do have it, they have it very seldom. And the more that you practice this, what Brother Lawrence would call practicing the presence, the more that you practice being present, the more that awareness will grow and increase. The less you'll be able to say, I wasn't present. Will that presence or the feeling of being present, will it increase and grow? Yes. It will. That doesn't mean that you weren't present before. It means you're sinking deeper into the present. It means your mind and body are less likely to journey apart from one another. Instead, you're remaining in the place of the home, remaining in the place of arrived, no longer looking to arrive, no longer looking to go home, but staying in the place, remaining. That's why Jesus said, remain in me, and I in you. Branch can do nothing apart from you. You can do nothing apart from you. What he's saying is that in this place of Christ consciousness, in the present, when we're remaining in the now, in the present, into Christ, in this true self, remaining, we bear all kinds of fruit because we're present in the moment or in the action, in every action. We're present in our work. Whatever that work is. We're present in our laughter, present in our observations. We're present in our sitting meditation. You can do sitting meditation and not be present. The point is to learn, to grow, and to increase in that being present. It has lots of benefits beyond this. Physical benefits. But you can practice and you not be present at all. And yet for that one practicing that's not present at all, maybe they're more present than they've ever been. So here's the key. Stop judging yourself. If you look back to a past moment and say, well, on this moment I'm not experiencing ecstasy like I did then you are allowing that past moment of ecstasy to actually be the obstacle keeping you from this moment of ecstasy. In other words, your mind is attached to something. And now that thing that it's attached to, that idea, that concept that it's attached to, is actually working as a hindrance. What was meant to be a beautiful experience is now a hindrance. Breathe in, I'm aware of the breath. Breathe out, I smile for the breath, I let go of that hindrance. I'm in this moment. This moment's ecstasy is not less, it's not greater, it's just different. The circumstances surrounding that moment of ecstasy have changed. If you think when you're meditating, doing walking meditation at work, if you think that the ecstasy is supposed to be the same as when you were doing sitting meditation, sitting here, looking at this water, listening to the singing of birds, feeling the breeze upon your skin, if you think that this experience is supposed to be the same as when you're at work and you're listening to people yell at each other, people frustrated, tension all around you. Of course it's not going to be the same.
Mhm.
And you could go to the Grand Canyon and sit on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Is it going to be the same as sitting here looking at this serene view? No. Which one will be greater? Neither one will be greater. They'll just be different. So I'll ask you another question. You're here. You've had this whole silent retreat here, looking at this beautiful piece. Such beautiful tranquility and harmony amongst nature. And next silent retreat you come to, will it be the same? Even if you're in the same spot, the same place, will it be the same? It's impermanent. The experience is impermanent. In other words, it is always changing, taking new form, new shape. It's only if it remains the same, the exact same, then you should recognize that you have not grown. Somebody says, I always am in this ecstasy, and it's the same ecstasy. You've heard me say that I've been high for 10 years, right? Since 2010, in that riding high. It's not been the same high. Not been the same experience. There's just the feeling of euphoria, the experience. And it really came in the realization of oneness, in the realization of the moment, and of oneness abiding. You cannot truly realize oneness and not recognize the presence. The high, the euphoric feeling, the ecstasy, that's shifted. It's changed. It's remained. There's a baseline or a habit energy that you'll feel, called a high energy. And it's fluctuated and changed and varied. The experience, all of the experiences have been different. A little bit even the peace that's being experienced right now change, right? In a little bit there will be screaming children, music playing. Things will change. And the way that you're interacting will change. You're playing. But that doesn't mean that the state of mindfulness needs to change. If anything, let the mindfulness increase.
Yeah.
I don't want to teach this right now, but the practice of solitude that I was talking about earlier, the practice of solitude, that is the birthplace for presence, is, what this means is, you are the unchanging, unmovable one. The form is going to shift and change like the water that is filling a different shape. The same form here, this form is teaching and sharing, elaborating, is revelating. The form will take on, the presence will take on different form. It can take on playing and throwing my children into water. It can take on making love. It can take on all kinds of different shapes, right?
Uh-huh.
But what remains? Practice of solitude, which we're not ready for at this moment, but the practice of solitude is coming into that place. I'm telling you this to whet your appetite for. It's coming into the place where there's one thing that never changes, that impermanent self. So the eternal self that never changes, that is unmoved by the energy of others. And it chooses what energy, it chooses the interaction, it chooses the form, if you will, that it's going to take on. This is such a beautiful place. This is what I started with. This is what we're all looking for. And we're sinking into deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The selfless self. The formless form. To be that which is empty, like the flower. To be empty of self. Yet to be still expressing the divine. Be the divine expression that is empty of self.
I got one more question. Can I ask it? Okay. So, like, I know this is a repeated behavior that I have, that I'm kind of watching myself reenact. back in Virginia. Like when my sister and my mom came to Virginia about a year ago or whatever, and my sister made a joke. She's like, "So do you hate David now?" Because I've had a tendency to, whoever I'm living with, like, to start to get more frustrated with them than I will with anybody else, kind of. So apparently they've seen me do it a lot, so they were joking about it. But so like I've done it like with like the guy whose wedding I was actually at. Like me and him were roommates in college. We didn't get along well. Stopped being roommates, started getting along perfectly fine again. So I've noticed that like I have a tendency to, I guess, place a label on the people I live with or the people I'm close to. Like Becca can represent for me, like the label she has is the person who, this isn't all the time, but sometimes narrative plays, is this is the person that wants attention and keeps me from focusing on my spiritual practices. Or like in your household, I can be like, when I'm inside this house, I can never focus on what I want to focus on. So it's a behavior that I have that I'm watching myself currently just play, partly because I do value time alone, but partially I think I am probably spending more time alone than really necessary. So I'm watching myself respond to this narrative I've created with isolation, or I can do it with Becca where I won't reach out to her on the phone or whatever because I know that she typically won't because she's going through a tough time. So if I don't reach out, then it's, you know. So I don't know. I can have a tendency to isolate myself, I guess, in a way that's probably not too healthy for me or the people involved. So I don't know. That's the thing that I'm watching myself do again. But I don't want to do it, but I'm like, what? I also don't know how to not do this when I feel this frustration or whatever. Like it's like it's the response that I have. Like I don't.
What is the frustration? Be real clear on what is the frustration, and it doesn't have to be in that specific moment or have a specific idea of what the moment is. For instance, it don't have to be clear on what the frustration is in dealing with a very specific person. Instead, just be clear, what is the frustration?
Well, it usually comes when it's like I had my mind set on doing this thing, and it's getting blocked by this person or.
So frustration, irritation, and aggravation are the fruit of
Temporal thinking.
temporal thinking. When it has to do with a person, it's because you're thinking of them temporally. It's as if you are identifying in the impermanence. Things are going to change, going to shift. Frustration comes when instead of seeing Christ in someone, you see, you're judging them, you're keeping me from what I want. You're stopping me from, no one can stop you from experiencing anything. No one can stop you from sitting in meditation. You can do it in the middle of New York City, in the middle of the street. If you've practiced enough, you can. No one can stop you. No one can stop you from experiencing ecstasy. That is all about just simply being present. No one can stop you from being mindful. You're pointing the finger. Ego always will point the finger. Blame it for somebody else. If I wasn't with them, or if I wasn't here, I would be having better experience. It's a judgment of the ego. Remember, no judgment is present. All judgment is past.
You catch yourself making a judgment, realize, bringing the mind back. Stop, practice stopping. So stop. I'm aware of my breath. Smile for my breath. Go back to your moment. Return to the present. And it really is that simple. Do I see Christ in all, as all? In Eastern cultures, they bow. You see me bow a lot, but they bow. They greet everyone that way. But in essence, they're saying, "I recognize that divine spark. I see the Buddha in you, which you will." Practice that. What do you see when you look into someone else? Do you see Christ? Are you frustrated with Christ? Are you tired of being Christ's roommate? Of course not, right?